Hi, everyone. So my name is Shimri Winters. I'm from ARINGO MBA Admission Consulting. I have here Shai with me. I'm a London Business School alumni, and Shai is from INSEAD. And today's topic is INSEAD versus London Business School. So let's get into the topic. Shai, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Shay Mendelson. I graduated from INSEAD. I'm 12D, which means I graduated almost 8 years ago, which makes me rather old, I guess. For the last 6 years, I've been working for Microsoft as a market lead for Microsoft Web Experiences, which means all of the online experiences you have from Microsoft, whether it's Bing, News, Maps, you name it. This is me.
Okay, hi. So I'm Shimri Winters, and I'm a London Business School graduate. Beforehand, I have a computer science degree. I worked as a programmer, and then I went to London Business School. And again, Shai and I will also discuss our profile in bigger and more details. Post MBA, I went to consulting, and then I went to big high-tech firms. And today I'm at ARINGO. I've been here for 6 years already. Okay, so let's kick into the actual presentation. And what we thought to do is, well, we're not going to talk about ARINGO. This is our only marketing slide. We're very good. We've been doing this for 17 years. We help candidates from all around the world get into top MBA programs. That's what we do. I think INSEAD is actually our #1 school in terms of our acceptance rate. We're very good for LBS as well, as you can probably see.
Thank you, Shimri. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll discuss that. I mean, you know, it's not such a good school, so that's why we help a lot of people get into it. But fine, that's ARINGO, finished. That was our marketing slide. So what we thought we would do today was just kind of, because there might be different people on this YouTube video that don't know anything about the schools. There might be people that know a lot about the schools. We thought we would spend the first 5, 10, 15 minutes just leveling the ground, giving you a lot of facts about both schools. So you can see you have facts and stats and student profiles and things like that. And Shai and I will go over the different details of each school. But then I hope you'll agree with me. We can go through some discussion points, and I hope you'll agree this is the heart of the presentation, talking about the differences between the schools and our experiences from the schools. This is a live YouTube chat session, and you can use the chat on the bottom. You can write us questions. We see them, and Shai and I will try and answer all the questions at the end. So please start asking questions, and let's start. So I just wanted to, before we actually dig into London Business School and INSEAD, I thought we should just explain a bit about US schools versus European schools, although INSEAD maybe is a global school because it has a campus in Singapore. There's a big difference, and the big difference is the US schools are very, very big schools. They're very big schools, and they're very good schools in everything. So without me knowing anything about geography, I'm sure Harvard are very good at that. And without me knowing much about law, I know Columbia are very good at law. And the reason I know about this is they're very big schools. They're very good at everything, like the big schools in the US. And there's a lot of Hollywood movies, and Duke is mentioned in some, and Cornell are mentioned in some. And the reason the European schools are less mentioned is most of them only do MBAs. So these are very small schools. They're very good, but they're very small schools. Another differentiator between Europe and the US schools is there's a lot of foreigners in the European schools. We're talking about 90 or 90+% of international students in every top school in Europe. And I think the last big differentiator is the length of the program. The European schools tend to be 1 to 1.5 years long, and most of the US schools tend to offer a program of 2 years. So I just wanted to kind of describe the differences between the US and EU. Right, let's dig into INSEAD, which is, as I said, a less good school, and London Business School, which is the best school. Let's do it. Shai, your INSEAD facts.
My INSEAD facts, your INSEAD fears, I guess. Okay. Yeah. So let's dive deeper into INSEAD. So when we speak about INSEAD, we speak about a 10-month program. It's a short program. It's a very intense program. When you think of which school you want to apply to, you must take that into consideration. It's intense. It really is. You don't have too much free time, because every time you choose to do some kind of an activity, you probably give up 10 others. And we'll discuss that in our next slides and our next topics. We have 2 intakes. Unlike other business schools who usually start on September, right after the summer holidays, INSEAD also have promotion starts on January, which I did. I'm 12D, which means I started on January, graduated on December. INSEAD has 2 main campuses, one in Fontainebleau, France, the other one in Singapore. No specializations. I think what makes INSEAD so unique is that people from so many backgrounds can find electives and courses they like and can find their own path inside INSEAD. Tuition cost, well, that's a pain. If you want to apply, you want to do it fast, because if you apply next promotion, the price will probably be even higher. Class size, we speak about 1,000 students, but keep in mind that these are 2 promotions. So in your promotion, you'll have 500 people from all around the world. We'll discuss nationalities again very soon, but keep in mind that each promotion, 500 people every year, 1,000 graduates. Average salary, this is not meant to make you jealous or whatever. Take into consideration that this is the average salary 3 years post-graduation. We talk about 180K. I assume, it's only reasonable to assume that not all graduates earn this kind of salary. But that's the average. There are people who make more, people who make less. INSEAD is the business school of the world, as it declares, and it is. We're talking about more than 80 nationalities with an average GMAT of more than 700. It's not a must. I know many people who got in with a lower score, but keep in mind that if you want to get in, you want to aim to get more than 700, but it's easy to say that 800 is better than 600. The average age is 29. Personally, I got in when I was 32. I know even someone who got in when he was 37. So average, there are a lot of exceptions. Prior work experience, 5.5 years approximately. That's the way it goes. Gender, you can see for yourselves. Post-MBA choice. It's fair to say that many INSEAD graduates go to management consulting. We're not saying that all of them go necessarily to McKinsey or Bain, but a lot of people go to consulting. Consultancies love INSEAD because of the intense program, because it means that graduates can handle the workload. I think the other main industry would be the financial sector, investment banking. Keep in mind, for example, that if you take the internship intake, which is January, probably around mid or late January, you will start your interviews for investment banking interviews. That this is definitely something to take into consideration. Other graduates probably go to big tech firms or industry. You name it, but you see how the pie looks. Let's take a look. Actually, Shimri, if you can take this one, because my screen is not full and I cannot see it very well. So if you can please take this one.
We just showed here the LinkedIn. So we basically just download. Before we showed you information from the school, but this is just some LinkedIn information. We just said let's look where INSEAD graduates live and where INSEAD graduates work. And I think, Shai, maybe you want to talk about this, but I can see a lot of graduates that are living in France plus Paris, okay? So you can see most of them. And probably the second biggest place is London plus the UK.
I think the reason for that is, first of all, INSEAD campus, main campus, is in Fontainebleau. It only makes sense. I think the natural path, I wouldn't say that there are too many French INSEAD graduates, but if you take a look at the main cities, European cities where graduates go after they they finish they're done with their MBA. It would definitely be in Europe. It would definitely be London and Paris.
Okay, cool. So let's. Can you see the next slide about the differentiator, Shai? Or shall I?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. So first of all, as we said, INSEAD is a small school. At any given point in time, you'll find there no more than 1,000 students, which is not a lot if you think about it. In the Singapore campus, you will definitely see people with their shorts and flip-flops, and INSEAD is not a very tacky school, definitely not like LBS, if I may say so.
Hey, we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, you know. We said that it's only a 10-month program. If you think about the cost of leaving your work and leaving home and living somewhere else, it's not as long as other business programs. 2 intakes, we mentioned that. I won't spend too much time on it. Most students learn in both campuses. For example, I did not, but for my own reasons. Most people first start in the campus they choose. You need to spend the first 4 months, the first 2 Ps, P1 and P2, in the same campus, but then you're free to change every 2 months. So if you want to go to Singapore for 2 months and then come back to Fontainebleau, that's fine. And then you can even go back to Singapore. Do whatever you want as long as you're coordinated and aligned with the school. I think it's fair to say that, you know what, I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I think that most of the people I know had an easier start at Singapore, and usually it's wiser to go to P4 and P5 in the campus where you want to work. So if you're aiming to work in Europe, make sure you finish your P4 and P5 in Fontainebleau, and vice versa. Global brand, we said INSEAD is the business school of the world, and it is so very well known in so many countries. I wouldn't say that if you want to work in the States, you have to go to INSEAD, right? Top US schools are probably better, but if you want to go anywhere else, you have a very strong network and a very well-perceived brand for INSEAD all around the world, whether it's South America or Asia, Asia Pacific, Europe, of course, and flexible curriculum. I think, you know, the easiest thing to demonstrate that is that there are people from the very same promotion who never meet. They've never been on the same campus. They never took the same electives. 500 people, you get to meet a lot of them, but not necessarily all of them.
Okay, thanks, Shai. So just a little reminder. First of all, we can see a lot of questions on the chat, and we will answer all of them at the end. So we will definitely answer all of them. I'll just go through a few. Yeah, I'll just go through some LBS facts. Then Shai and I will tell you a bit more about our experiences and talk about, you know, the real deal, what we think the differences are between the schools and our experiences, and then we'll answer the chat. So again, thanks, Shai. I mean, I think most of your facts just prove to me that LBS is a much better school. So that was really good. Let me start from, you know, just the length of the program. Why would anyone want to go for a 10-month program when you can go for a flexible program? And at LBS, the program can be 15 or 18 or 21 months. Do you want an internship? You want to skip the internship and just study and finish quicker? You know, it's a business school.
For 2 years, if you will.
It's a business school that can fit any candidate. There's a huge amount of electives. I think there's just under 100 electives. You can choose whichever electives you want, or you can actually take a concentration, which just means the school chooses for you the electives. For example, I wasn't interested in doing finance or marketing or something like that. I just took loads of electives in entrepreneurship. That was very interesting to me. The tuition cost and the class size is very similar to INSEAD. Average salary, very similar to INSEAD.
Very similar, but less.
We can discuss that as well and why. And I think
we don't have to discuss that. The numbers are there.
Okay, thanks, Shai. So we can definitely discuss that. We can also discuss the amount of women at INSEAD, and you can see that LBS has a bit better of a gender balance. In terms of, you know, number of countries and internationalism, it's just, you know, it's how you count it. So INSEAD count 80 nationalities and LBS count 66 countries. I think you'll agree it's probably the same. Average age, GMAT, prior work experience. These stats are kind of the same. If you look at the post-MBA industry choice, and again, this pie chart is post-MBA straight away. And the next chart from LinkedIn shows kind of your entire career span. I think you'll see the LBS has a bit of a better balance than INSEAD, and probably a very good balance in comparison to most schools. In the past, like when I studied 10 years ago, I think it was kind of a third to consulting, a third to finance, and a third to everywhere else. We called it industry. But these days, we can definitely still see the third to consulting. Financial services has decreased a bit, and technology has risen. There's so much technology going on right now in London, and we'll talk about that later, a huge technology hub. And that's why we can actually see more and more LBS students finishing their MBA and going straight into technology. And I think you can see here already a huge difference than INSEAD. You can see that a lot of the LBS alum, and again, alumni that have graduated 5, 10, 20 years ago, so many working in technology firms like Shai, in Google, Microsoft, Amazon, etc., but also in consulting and also in finance. So you will see, I think, a very nice balance. There's definitely a very, very big and high amount of numbers that live in the UK. So you can see, if we look at the first, the two bar charts on the left, UK plus London is about half the alumni. And again, the rest, it just spreads around the world. Some, differentiators, well, I think I love when Shai talks about Fontainebleau, like this is such an amazing middle of nowhere. But if you want to live in a great location, I think, and you're an Arsenal fan like me, I think London is probably the best place in the world, culture-wise, sports-wise, financially wise, professional services wise. You like to visit museums, or you like music, or you like ballet, or you're interested
Go to Paris.
in
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, but NCR isn't in Paris, so fine. I think London Business School is an amazing location. It's across the street from Regent's Park. You could actually see the lake from most of the classrooms at London Business School. I think London is a
small swimming pool compared to the Fontainebleau endless forest, but
you're right. You're right about that. But again, it's an amazing location. I think London's definitely one of the business hubs of the world. And I actually remember, like, my first day at London Business School, the dean came in and there was a map of the world, and draw a circle around London. And I really think it's one of the main hubs for Europe, one of the main hubs with services for the Middle East, services for Asia, and for the US. The brand is known, in all the world. It's an amazing brand. Shai said something about, if you want to go and work in the US, don't go to INSEAD. Definitely go to London Business School. Amazing brand. Very small school. And this is something important. 500 students a year. The professors. Everyone. It's very collaborative. Again, we'll discuss this a bit later. There's a lot of, and again, I think this is a huge differentiator. There's the flexible length of the program. You can decide in the middle of the program how long you want to take the program. You want to take more electives, you want to do an internship, you can make the program a bit longer. You want to go back to the industry very quickly, you can take a shorter program. I think it's one of the only business schools that actually offers a flexible length of the program. There's also a flexible curriculum, we discussed that. Two very interesting things is one of them is there's so many projects going on. And again, it makes sense. You're not in the middle of nowhere. You're in the middle of a huge business professional city with lots of alumni from your school working about 5 minutes away or one tube stop from you. And if you want to learn more about private equity and you're in the private equity club, you just have, breakfast and lunch with an alumni. They come to the school. They love sharing their experiences. There's a lot of joint projects because you're in London with companies in the city. There's something called the London Cap, which is going to work with a real company on a problem. But there's also something called the Global Business Experience, which is you actually go to a city. It can be Johannesburg or Tel Aviv or various other cities in Asia and in South America, sorry. And you can go and do a project there over a week or two. I did my project in India and the second project in Poland. So that that's what I did. And diversity, we said, amazing. There's more and more emphasis right now on entrepreneurship and tech. So it's definitely less finance, less consulting, more entrepreneurial and tech. In terms of ranking, Shai, at least, I hope we can agree, these are two amazing schools, the best in the world, definitely the best in Europe. There's so many rankings which show different stats. I think what's important is they're both the best schools. Can we agree on that one before we disagree on everything else?
Shimri, this is Abhijit. So Shai is disconnected.
Okay, I'll continue. That's good. Thank you. I'll continue till Shai comes. So I agreed with Shai. Both schools are really, really good. So till Shai logs back on, let me tell you my full story, and then we'll wait for Shai to log back on. So just a bit more of my London Business School story and experience. So like I said, I come from a computer science background. I was a programmer. And when I came to London Business School, it was quite a shock for me. I wasn't such a big manager. I think I managed 2 people. I was like a team leader. And I had a lot of senior people in my class. They came from various industries. I didn't have such an international background. A lot of them had a very international background. And just to tell you a bit about my study group, I had Paulina from Poland and Katya from Bulgaria and Mohammed from Bahrain and Rowan from the UK. And, Mohammed's a banker, Rowan's a consultant, Katya works at Shell Oil, and Paulina was a lawyer. And, all this, and, me, the programmer. And it was quite a big shock at the beginning, but it's such a collaborative atmosphere. You can take whichever electives that you want. So, really you can build your own path. And very quickly in the game, you have to kind of try and decide what you want to do in the future, because after about 3 months towards January, so around December, January, November, depends which industry you're looking for, the internships start. And once the internships start, you kind of have to, you want to be recruited by a certain industry, for example, consulting or tech or something like that. So then you start going to the clubs that interest you. There are so many clubs. And I had, it was really difficult to choose which club I wanted to join. I was in the private equity club, in the tech club. I tried joining the yachting club, but when I realized that makes me sick, I didn't do that. I think I took my partner, which is something we'll discuss later, but I came to London Business School with a partner. I think I took her to the salsa club a couple of times. That was fun. So many clubs, both professional and, just fun. I had an amazing experience there. Just a bit, after the MBA, first of all, I found my internship at Yahoo, and I went for 2 months in the summer to work for Yahoo. I was working for Yahoo Europe, and I was doing various projects for them. At the end of the internship, I was offered to be the project management office, the PMO of Yahoo Europe, reporting to Yahoo Europe CEO at the time. But I really wanted consulting. And at the end of the MBA, I found a consulting position in London. And then I stayed there for a couple of years until I moved back to the tech industry in various business development roles. And 6 years ago, I joined ARINGO. So that's a bit about my story. And again, we'll, in the next slide, after Shai tells us a bit about his story, we'll move into some more experiences that Shai and I had in each school. So Shai, welcome back. I can see you're here.
Yes, finally I am.
So this is just a bit about your story and your experience at INSEAD before we start digging into specific things.
So when I was a teenager, all I wanted to do is be a journalist. I had nothing to do with business. And my first boss in the media industry, I think it was a year after I joined, I got my first job. I heard he was leaving to study his MBA at Singapore. And I thought, well, loser, why can't he go to a US school like anyone else? But he was kind of a smart guy. And I think it was probably 2 months later, I heard that a very smart guy I knew as well was going to the same business school. And then I thought, okay, these people are smart. They're not playing games. I should probably take a look at this school and see what it's about. And these were people just like me. I'm not saying I'm smart, but these were smart people who had the same fields of interest just like me, and I wanted to find out what it was all about. And that was the first time I had any exposure to INSEAD. And I got to read a little bit, and as I said, I worked in the media industry in print. There used to be such a thing, and online media outlets, and even TV. And eventually I understood that this was one hell of a messy industry. No one really managed it. People did whatever they want. If you were a journalist for, I don't know, 15, 20, 25 years, you'd probably become the CEO just because. And I wanted to make things a little different. So I decided I'd go and study, surprise, surprise. And then I took a look at INSEAD electives list. And I saw there I mean, it was like a magic. It was managing media companies A and managing media companies B. And I thought, okay, this is all I need. If I study how to manage media companies A and B, I'd probably know how to do it. I studied very hard for my GMAT. I wrote a good application. I got in. Great. Now what? Now you have to pack yourself and your partner, who was not my wife then, and we need to move for a whole year to France. And we did. As I said, I didn't go to Singapore. And this was, I mean, I think the marketing materials for INSEAD say the best year of your life. I think it's probably, I wouldn't say it was the best, because there, I mean, I want to put it straight away. There were a lot of very difficult moments during this year, but I think this was definitely, by far, a life-changing experience. I learned so much, and actually, I didn't learn that much in class, although I did, but I learned so much about myself and what I can do and what goals I should set myself. And I made great friends, not 1,000, even not 500, but I do have my very, very, very good friends from INSEAD. They are all around the world, in Europe, in Asia. Some of them are in the States. And it is a life-changing experience. And then I didn't want to go, I mean, I didn't mind going to consulting, but I didn't want to find myself going to or taking a job I'd hate and do it just to pay back the loan. So I was trying to be very picky with my post-MBA positions. It took some time to find the right thing. And eventually I joined Microsoft, where I work till these very days, and I'm very happy with it. And I think the best thing about my position is that it combines, it's basically all I was looking for. And again, I'm not trying to say everything is perfect, but it was all I was looking for, in the sense that I was looking for a position that would combine my media background together with technology, global environment, and business, and this is all I have today. So this is kind of great.
Okay. I agree about the lifetime experience, and I think that's a huge thing. So again, what I wanted to say again is keep writing your chat questions. Shai and I will go through all of them. I just want to be honest, one chat question that I don't think we should answer is, which school is better? Which school should I go to? I think you should make up your mind, maybe based on this YouTube video or in any other information. But again, Shai went to one school, which is less good. I went to a better school. You know, for me, it's obvious. For him,
I was just about to say that the answer to the question, which school I should go to, is very easy, but you were trying to be very politically correct. Yeah.
So what we did, so what we did here is we kind of asked ourselves 10 questions, okay? And again, then we'll go through all the chat questions, but we might actually answer some of them here. So we just said, okay, let's just discuss 10 points, or I didn't count them, maybe 9. So the first one is location. Shai, you can tell us more about the location. I think we've also discussed some of the points, so we can, can whiz through them. I think I talked about London Business School. I think it's in the best location in the world. I just don't think you can do any better than being in London. between a year and a half. That's it. Knockout. Did you want to say anything, Shai?
I think you got knocked out because
What?
I think that people who want to study and live in Europe will, there are very good chances they will find themselves at some point in London. I think that if you want to go and study in a beautiful place, which is not very far from Paris, if you need a city, you have the most beautiful city in the world right next to you. It's 50 minutes drive away. I think that what the Fontainebleau Forest and the Fontainebleau surroundings have to offer, that's not even comparable to London, which I'm sure many candidates, many applicants have visited or will visit at some point in their lives. For me, I have a story. I think it was 3 years ago. I was flying back from Redmond, from Microsoft headquarters on the weekend, and I was stopping in France for my 5 years graduation. And the thing, it was great to see everyone. It was, the summer ball, the main event was crappy. It doesn't matter. The thing I was most excited about was to go to the small, beautiful village I lived with my friends and just take a walk around. And it was probably one of the best weekends I've had. Just going back there, see all these small shops and boulangeries, and it's really beautiful. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. People will go to London over and over again.
Yeah, so let's move on, but I definitely agree with what Shai said. So if you're looking like for a hiking trip or maybe camping, it's a beautiful forest. There's beautiful gift shops there, great boulangerie, get the baguette and 2 croissants with chocolate. That's amazing. But if you're looking for a business hub, I think, London, yeah. Let's talk about internship, Shai. So, this I think is probably one of your pain points, because at INSEAD, as everybody knows, if you start in September, like every other decent business school in the world, you actually don't have an internship in the end. I think this is a huge advantage for London. It's probably one of the only MBAs that I know that actually is flexible about it. You can either have an internship in the middle, or you can just skip their internship, and it's your choice. It's very flexible. And I think Shai would agree, huge advantage to London, 2-0.
Okay. No, but really, I think that it really depends on why you want to have an internship. If you just want to work for additional 2 months, you can do it anywhere, anytime. I think people really think that an internship would secure their post-MBA job. I'm not sure that's the case for everyone. I think people at INSEAD can land very good post-MBA jobs, even without an internship, and you can take a look at the stats of promotions that do not have this opportunity. Internship is a good way to get some experience. The question is whether it's something that really differentiates people who can land a good job and people who cannot. I think it's not a must. I had the opportunity to have an internship in my promotion. Instead, I took a summer break, had a beautiful trip around Europe, made very good friends. I think it's just as good way to spend your summer.
Okay, I had an internship at Yahoo, like I said, and actually those 2 months were amazing because I decided not to work at Yahoo afterwards. And I think if I would have taken the full-time job there to begin with, I wouldn't have moved to consulting. So I see a lot of advantages.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Length of program, again, well, I'm starting with the easy ones, which are another advantage for London Business School. Basically, if someone asks me at London Business School, should he do the 15, 18, or 21 months? I usually say, it depends, of course. If you have a job lined up for you and you want to go back to that job quickly, you don't need an internship, you don't want to do a career shift, and you don't want to lose too much money by not working, yes, of course, take the shorter program. But I actually think there's so many advantages for the longer program. Your network will grow tremendously. You'll take more electives. You will have an internship. So again, why decide when you can go to a flexible program and decide later on? I think Shai discussed the INSEAD 10 months quite a lot. It's probably very intense, right, Shai?
why decide is a good question. I think what you want to learn at a business school is how to decide. And I think that workload and an intense program both make you very good at decision making because you just have to. You cannot run away and you say, oh well, I'll deal with it in 2 weeks time or next year or whatever. Now is the time to handle things, learn as much as you can. It's MBA on steroids, and I think it's the best way to do it.
Okay, say no to drugs, 3-0 to LBS. Brand, I will agree here that the brand is very similar. So I speak to people in Asia, I speak to people in the Middle East, in the US. I think the programs are ranked kind of similar. Yes, there are certain countries where there's a bigger alumni club, and I've seen that as well for one of the schools, but I think the brands are pretty similar. These are two great international programs with great brands.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, yay. Okay, international environment. You know what? I'll also agree here that both schools are very, very international with over 90% of foreigners, of diversity. Like I think Shai said, there aren't a lot of French alumni from INSEAD. There aren't a lot of British people at London Business School. It's actually harder to get into if you're British because they want the diversity, they want the international environment.
I just think that if you take a look at London Business School, it's a business school as good as it may be in London. When you take a look at INSEAD, which is, again, I'm not going to say it again, it's the business school of the world because it has campuses in Europe, in Asia. You can also spend 2 months at Wharton. There is a campus in the Emirates. I mean, you can spend a year traveling all around the world, making connections and network and get to know people. And even if you stay only in one campus, I think you can make a very valuable global network. So when you speak about international environment, you know, I can let Shimri go on with his comparisons, but I think that there is no way to compare this one.
Okay, let's agree to disagree. So culture, you know what, I've never studied at INSEAD, but from your experience, it actually sounds quite similar to mine. The schools are very small, 500 students at the most. And at least my experience at London Business School, I've approached professors, I've offered them to do joint projects. I didn't understand things in class. I went to, professors after class. I was also the class rep. And I used to be the intermediate between the class.
Such a nerd.
Sorry. And, I always, I just felt that, I didn't study in a big US school with 20 or 30,000 students in the school, but I always felt that this collaborative environment is great. I have to admit, I have no idea what my GPA was. I have no idea, the scores my classmates got, and no one really cared. That was my experience. Is that the same, Shai? Okay, good. Happy to hear about that.
I would add only one point. When you speak about a collaborative atmosphere, I think it's great to see students really help each other to prepare for interviews, even if people are going to apply to the same position. And you see people with some experience in management consulting helping others prepare for the case interview. So I think it's fair to say that most of the year the atmosphere is very much collaborative, and I think it's also fair to say that the more intense the job hunt becomes, the more competitive it gets. Not because people are stabbing each other at the back, but they don't. Okay. But because
I agree.
People want to find their post-MBA and job and land it and make sure they will be able to start paying their loan back. And it's a competitive atmosphere because we're talking about ambitious people.
I agree.
I would say that most of the year people do help each other, and it's really great to see.
I agree. And at LBS, there's also the second year that helps the first year because the second year already have the jobs, they've already got into consulting, and then they do, mock case study interviews for the first years, etc. So I think that's another advantage for LBS, but don't tell Shai about that. Career direction. So again, I don't know how much we want to discuss this. I think we did mention where the alumni go to. I can tell you that at London Business School, there's 36, or at least in my year, so probably it's grown, people that work at the career services, and their entire job is to find you a job at the end of your MBA. So whichever direction you want to take your career, no one says you have to go to consulting, like at INSEAD, or something else. You can go to. It took you some time to react to that, Shai, but you can go to whichever industry you want.
Speed.
Yeah. But you can take whichever direction you want. You can use the infrastructure of the career services and of the clubs. And because you're in one of the global business hubs, you can just use your own connections that you make while living in London and not in the middle of nowhere. And you can actually go to whichever career direction you want. Again, from my class, we had pharmacy, HR. We had the pilot, obviously tech and finance and consulting. We have someone works in the scooters, in the dockless scooters industry, everything. So various career directions and lots of entrepreneurs today, lots of entrepreneurs. Shai, what I thought we would do, concentrations, again, I think we discussed basically in both schools, you can just take as many electives as you want.
Yeah, true.
I thought we could discuss, 2 last points or 3 last points, but one of them was like, fine, let's say both schools are great. There's professors and they teach entrepreneurship and microeconomics, and we'll discuss that as well. And I saw some of the chats were asking, is it case-based? Is it case-based or not? But I wanted to talk a bit about out of the class. Okay, so let's say you've had the whole day of lessons and it's 5 or 6 or whatever time you finish in France. Is it lunchtime, I think, right? So what happens afterwards? What happens beyond the classroom, Shai?
I think one of INSEAD's biggest cliches is work hard, play hard. And I think that a lot of the main things that people remember from INSEAD do not happen in the classroom, but rather outside. And I will leave aside the professional clubs such as consulting and TMT, etc. I think what people like to do is basically drink beer together and get to know each other. And there are so many opportunities to do that. It's either, I can just from the top of my head think about the rugby club, for example, where people like to crash into each other and then have beer. Or you can think about the weekend parties or trips when you can travel somewhere and then have beer together and get to know each other. And you can travel around. And I think that, for example, being so diverse in terms of nationalities, people have the opportunity to share each other, to share their cultures. For example, when I studied, we had our national week. Today, I think it's only one day where you get to share food and culture and music, and it's all about one nationality. And it's great to see people who never got the opportunity to know different cultures or specific cultures make friends they could never meet anywhere else, basically.
I agree, and I think in terms of culture-wise, also at London Business School, so you celebrate, all the holidays. So, the Japanese club and Diwali and whoever has a holiday, whichever nationality has a holiday, everybody celebrates that. Shai was talking about drinking beer again. Shai, there's no comparison in how many beers you drink in London, but basically, there's so much going on beyond the classroom. There's so many clubs. They're all student-run clubs. Like I gave some examples before, the clubs can be fun and the clubs can be professional. Okay, so it can be private equity or technology or art, which is business in art club, or something like that. And it can also be cheese and wine club. So there's so many clubs.
Cheese and wine, Shimri. Learn
I know.
From the best.
I know. You know what? I agree on that one. It was horrible. And the clubs are amazing. There's so many extracurricular activities going on, which actually brings me nicely to the last point, which is partners. So I know, Shai, you mentioned before that you came with a partner, and I also came with a partner. This is tough because you're at school all day and your partner's at home. What do you have to say about this, Shai?
My partner has a very unique story. First of all, her name is Shai too, which is nice. But my partner, before we went to INSEAD, she was a lawyer at a very big law firm. And when we left, she for the first 2 months, I think she continued working from France. It was very innovative at these days. And then she stopped. She didn't want to spend her time doing the very same things. She met so many people and made so many friends. And I think INSEAD is it's fair to say that INSEAD is a very partner-friendly school. But everyone can say it about their school, but my partner has a unique story because this was also a life-changing experience for her. She was a lawyer, and on our summer break, during our European tour, we went to London, and I remember a very specific conversation we had in one of the gardens when she thought whether she should start her own business and open a bakery or go to management consulting. And these are decisions that if you're at LBS, you can say, oh, well, I'll deal with it next year when I graduate. But she needed to decide because the year was about to end and we needed to think what we were about to do. Yada, 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 6 years at McKinsey. So she made up her mind, still the best cook I know. But I think that I won't say it's not tough for partners because, as you said, Shimri, the students are in the classroom and have all kinds of activities all day long. And a partner needs to think really hard about what they want to do with this year because they can get so much out of it. Even some professors even let partners attend their lectures, which is great. So you can study, you can get to know people, and you can travel. I think my wife knows Paris better than the Parisian mayor, probably. But but it's a great year. It's a life-changing experience for everyone. And I'm not even discussing people who go there with a partner and kids. So I think
so Shai, that sounds like a great experience, and obviously I hope everybody will agree. Another knockout for LBS. So my partner didn't have to leave her job and go and live in the middle of the woods in France. She moved to a huge city with lots of opportunities, and she decided to go and study her master's degree. My partner does something completely different, and there's 30-something universities in London and hundreds of colleges. She just went to the best university in her specific area and did her degree there, and then worked in London because, very easy to work in a very big business center. So that was my partner story.
I can't for you, which are work permit, but yeah, move on.
Yeah, no, but partners do get work permits right now, so it's a bit easier. But visas is a whole different session. Yes, LBS is a very welcoming school for partners. There's something called Sundawners every Thursday, which actually you just drink beers. Well, you do that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday as well. But on Thursdays, it's just sponsored by some companies. Partners are welcome to that. There's a partners club. Partners are invited to London Business School pool, gym, and to some of the, you can come into some of the lectures. So it's a very welcoming school for partners. Plus you have the entire city of London supporting them. So basically those were the points we wanted to discuss. I think probably most of you already decided which school is better. So, I think that was, it wasn't such a good comparison. Yeah, I did. So Shai, I think we'll go through the chat questions. Again, I just wanted, first of all, I want to thank everyone that was on the live session. It's nice that we put Columbia University here at the end, so sorry about that. Very good graphics to put the Columbia University at the end. I just wanted to tell you two things. Two questions, actually, that we're not going to answer in the chat. So I told you one, when someone asks us which school is better, asks us questions, but make up your mind, okay? Which is better for you? The second question that I won't answer, and I'm sorry, I've seen some chat questions already, is can we give you a profile evaluation? What are your chances, etc.? You have my email here. Feel free to send me your CV, GMAT score, and school lists, career aspirations, whatever information you have. Again, if you ask me questions, I will answer them. So as long as you send me your CV and GMAT and some questions, I will answer them.
One question I don't like, Shimri, is trying to evaluate chances. Obviously, there are people who have better fit for one school or another, but I think that evaluating chances when you don't know the competition, take a look at strategy core course, for example.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit difficult to do.
That's what I said. So there's two things we won't do, which is chances and which school is better. So Shai, I'm actually going to go, and whoever wrote the chat first, so I'm going to go through. There's so many questions. I'm going to ask you the first question. Sorry, how do you choose one to go to? Sorry about that. We're not going to answer that one. Okay, so what are your thoughts on LBS MIM? I'll just talk about that very quickly. And INSEAD also has a MIM. So this is actually newer, but it wasn't existent when Shai and I studied, but it's a bit of a hot thing right now. A lot of schools are opening Master in Management. Basically, it's an MBA for people with up to 2 years experience. Okay, so I won't go into this in detail because it's not the chat and this YouTube video topic, but I can say it's a great experience. You go and you do 1 year in these top schools, and I'll say something else. The schools are an infrastructure. And they have a foundation for you to get out of it whatever you want. And if you go and do a Master in Management course, for example, you take the electives with the MBAs. So you take the electives with the Shais and Shimris and the other MBAs, and it's what you make out of it. Of course, the salaries at the end are less than MBAs because people that come to Master in Management have less experience. But it's a great opportunity, and you need to decide if this is the next step for you. Okay, someone's asking about the GMAT. Sorry, we're not GMAT instructors. Shai, someone's asking if they're a British citizen, okay, but they're thinking about INSEAD and they want a career change. Is this a good option for them?
So
let's talk about INSEAD and career changes.
I think the real answer would be that we need to probably dive a little deeper. So there are a lot of British citizens at INSEAD. I think it really depends on your post-MBA goals. I think I see this specific question. I'm not sure I understand what you want to do after you graduate. So this would be helpful information.
Send me your CV and some more questions. I'll answer them privately. Let's just do that. Someone asked about consulting. Okay, so they want to go into consulting. I think it's pretty obvious when you saw the stats. If you want to go into consulting, these two schools are very good for you.
I think it's fair to say, only because I know someone from McKinsey. I even live with her up until this very day. I think it's fair to say that the school where McKinsey recruits the most is INSEAD. And I think the reason for that is that, I think we mentioned it earlier, people at INSEAD can handle workload, and they're very good at so many things. I think this is a profile leading consultancies are looking for.
So first of all, I agree. There's a lot of McKinsey, which are INSEAD. The reason is we saw 50% from INSEAD go to consulting and only 40% from London Business School. So obviously the numbers will be a bit bigger than INSEAD. But that's a huge advantage to London, that there's more options at the end of the MBA. But thanks, Shai, for mentioning that one as well. You sure you didn't go to LBS? You're just mentioning all our strengths. Okay, someone wants to go to consulting. We mentioned that. Shai, I'm running through these. Which schools are better fit? Sorry, we're not going to answer that. Shai, I discussed a bit the career services office at London Business School. Can you just talk a bit about that? So how do you get recruited? How does that happen?
Okay. The general answer would be all the recruiters visit the campus. There is a very structured way of doing that. I think the real answer is that there are certain industries where INSEAD is very, very strong at, but some people may not find their passion in these industries. And whenever you want to do the unusual, non-mainstream career path, I think you need to get involved and proactive very early. The resources are there, but the one who needs to drive it is the MBA candidate, I would say. Okay. So career services are very well structured when it comes to investment banking, management consulting, global tech companies that recruit on campus. But if you want something else, you'd better roll up your sleeves.
Okay. Okay, so again, I discussed about LBS. I think career services is a platform, and you can get to whichever job you want. I actually know someone who wanted to work in Chris's, and he wanted, he wanted to do anyway, whichever way you want to go to, technology, consulting, different industry. LBS career services is there to help.
I have a cute story about this one. When I was interviewed to INSEAD. I had the formal interview, and then I started just chatting with the interviewer, who was very nice, and he asked me what I wanted to do, and then he said that when he graduated, it was somewhere in the 90s, I think, or early, probably 15 or 20 years ago. He said that one of his friends, when they graduated, he said, well, I think I'm going to work for this online bookstore named Amazon, and then
Yeah, we've heard all these stories, Shai. So again, I just want to say again, we're skipping questions where people asked us very private questions, and please send me your CV, GMAT, and questions, and I'll answer all of them, I promise. Okay. Someone asked about the selectivity about the schools and if there'll be a change this year. So the question is, what's this year? Okay, of course, there's a change right now, and courses might start online in September. But if you're just thinking of applying, probably the earliest that you might start studying, if you already have a GMAT, is September 2021, or maybe even later than that. And I think we all hope that there won't be any pandemic then, and school will be back to normal. In terms of selectivity and changes, both schools are super selective. It's hard to get into these schools. Use ARINGO, we're very good, but it's hard to get into these schools. And they're super selective. They're looking for a very diverse class. They're looking for people with international experience and aspirations. And yeah, it's hard to get into these schools. Okay, so again, I'm kind of ignoring private questions. Sorry about that, guys. Someone asked, do US companies recruit from INSEAD campus for the US market, Shai?
I think it would probably, so there are US companies who recruit on campus, obviously, but I would say it's mainly for their European or Asian headquarters. I think that if someone wants to go to work in the US right after they graduate from INSEAD, or right after they have their MBA, I think there are better brands or better perceived brands in the US than INSEAD. Obviously, I think INSEAD can give you great knowledge, great skills, great everything, but in terms of brand awareness, probably if you want to go to the US, you might think.
I definitely agree, Shai, and I think I'll be more. I'll even say go to a mediocre US school. It's for sure in the US. And if you want to, if you want to go and live in America, in the US, just go and do it in the US. Don't go to INSEAD or London Business School, because these are great schools, and then try and do the transition. So that definitely, again, I'm not saying that you can't do the transition, and I think you can see that 20% of both school graduates work in the US today. But why would you do that? Why would you work hard? Just go for one of the US schools in that case. Someone's asking
but then it does not prevent you from joining a US company outside the US, of course.
Correct. So I think the recruiters are pretty similar in both schools. And today the global companies, if it's the Google or the Amazon or the Facebooks, recruit from both schools. Or Microsoft. That's some company that no one's heard of. Shai, so LBS is a case-based teaching method. Most classes are case-based. How is it in INSEAD?
Same.
Okay, so I think most of the top schools today teach in a case-based method, and basically you get a case, you and your study group can work on the case before class, and it can be, instead of opening book and reading, page 199, chapter 2, it's actually, let's discuss how EasyJet price their tickets, or let's discuss, London 2012, how they price their tickets, kind of case study. That would be a case study. And that's how the class usually starts. Shai, like we discussed a lot of consulting and finance, but someone's asking, they're looking for marketing or, brand management or something like that. So non-tech, just marketing, would INSEAD be a good fit for them?
So I think this has an increasing interest at INSEAD, and there is no vacuum where you have people interested. I think you can see more and more marketing classes and electives at INSEAD. I think that if I compare it, and again, as someone who is interested in marketing, I think that there are so many more electives compared to the time when I was at INSEAD. So yes, definitely.
Okay, I couldn't agree more. Someone asked if the session is recorded. Yes, it's recorded. Another question is about energy. Yeah, so there's, at least from London Business School, I had many energy people in my class, both from Schlumberger, from the Middle East, and from Shell, from Esso, yep, from lots of big BP, lots of big companies, both coming to the MBA from these industries and going to these companies post MBA. I mentioned from my study group, I had someone from Shell, and she returned to Shell post MBA. Shai, same?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think so as well. Someone asked about the difference between BCG and McKinsey, who recruits more? Well, I think McKinsey are probably the biggest recruiter from both schools these days. And that's it. So that's why you might see a few more McKinseys than BCGs in both schools. So just check the stats again. Both LBS and INSEAD curriculum seem pretty intensive. Do you get time traveling at all? Well, Shai spoke about his traveling experience. In the second year at LBS, you decide on your curriculum, you decide on the length, you decide on how many times a week you study. In my year, there was a Silicon Valley trip, Startup Nation trip to Israel, a Japan trip to Japan. There was a ski trip. They were, anyway, it doesn't end. There was actually, in my specific year, there were 5 or 6 students who went to climb the Everest. So in the second year, they had to recruit a lot of money for that. So yes, there's a lot of time to travel in the second year. In the first year, it's pretty intensive. Shai, 10 months? I don't know how much you can travel.
I think that the time spent or invested in traveling is usually weekends, because you don't have 2 years to just decide if you want to go to school or not. From Monday to Friday, you study and you study hard, but on the weekend, it's your time to party and travel if you want to. You can stay at home, you can travel, there are people in my promotion who spend some time in Asia, and every weekend they would fly to a different country. It really depends on how much time you want to put into traveling. It really depends on how much money you spend during this year. But if you want, the opportunities are endless, even when we talk about 10 months.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a global hub of travel, like where EasyJet and Ryanair and Wizz actually fly 1 million flights from, London is a great place.
Not today.
Not today, but in a few months. Someone asked about family businesses. So we don't have a % of people coming from family businesses, because usually the schools will look at the industry and give you lots of stats about that. But it's huge. Schools love family business people.
They do.
Because you already have a job at the end of the MBA, and we know where you're going to. Please send me your CV. I would love to look at it and understand more about where you come from. So that's a bit of family businesses, but both schools are very good, I think, for family businesses. There is a family business club at London Business School with people like you sharing experience at INSEAD as well. So yes, that's a great thing.
And an elective focused on family-owned businesses, and
Okay. Shai, someone's asking about scholarships. And I know at INSEAD, this is a touchy subject.
It's not touchy, but I think that numbers are not a game changer, and chances are definitely not a game changer. I think that if someone wants or thinks of going to INSEAD, they should think if they want to do it even without a scholarship. And if the answer is yes, then it doesn't really matter. I would recommend applying to all relevant scholarships, of course. But when you start your application journey, think about it as if you're going to do it with no scholarship at all.
I couldn't agree more, Shai. So again, especially the scholarships at INSEAD, the London Business School, there aren't many full scholarships. And if you win 20,000 euros or don't win 20,000 euros, it's a lot of money, but this isn't a game changer in the next 10 years of your career, especially after you're going to spend so much money on the MBA. So I definitely agree. What are the criteria? Well, just to be very unique and have a great application and be someone very special. It's very hard, for you to change your gender or to change your last 5 years of experience. So the one thing you could change today is your GMAT, right? And a high GMAT would change your specific profile versus your profile with 30 points extra in the GMAT. So that might be something that you can change today. But again, they're just looking for great applicants, and great applicants will receive nice scholarships. Last year at ARINGO, generally, I think 56% of our candidates received some sort of scholarship in all the schools. INSEAD and London aren't, they're not very generous in comparison to some other schools. So I'm not sure what the statistic was there. And again, the scholarships weren't very high. At INSEAD, they were around 20,000 euros. And at London, a bit more, but again, that kind of range. So I definitely agree with what Shai said. Someone asked about EMBA program. So again, sorry if you've been waiting an hour and 7 minutes. This isn't the right discussion. Please send me your CV. We have an EMBA team at ARINGO, which the team only works with executive MBAs, and happy to connect you to the team and talk about your EMBA aspirations. I'll just say one word about that. London Business School is every 2 weeks on the weekends. INSEAD is once a month, 5 days, something like that. So there's a bit of difference in the intensiveness of each of the programs, but both are made for people who are working and for commuters. So we can discuss this separately. Right, Shai, a few more questions. We're nearly there. Let's see something interesting. Wow, luxury products. Okay, so if someone wants to go into luxury products industry or wants to develop his luxury products brand, is INSEAD a good choice, Shai?
No.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, yes, but
Yes.
Why is my answer positive? I think, again, regardless of this specific industry, I think you get a lot of entrepreneurship knowledge when you go to INSEAD, and I think that everyone who wants to start a business, almost regardless of the industry or the type of business they want to start, they get a very solid background in order to do so. I would say, again, it's not as common as other industries, but yeah, if you want to do it, you can definitely get some solid knowledge at INSEAD.
So I agree, and at LBS, I just wanted to say that at my year, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and a few other brands came to recruit students. So this is one of the paths to go into the luxury brands industry. But yeah, obviously out of the 500 students, these were just few, but it's definitely something doable. Okay, let's choose 5 more questions. It is long. Someone asked about age. I'll just say that the European schools generally are there's less a problem if you're 31 or 32 or even 33 or 34. They'll still look at your application. If you have up to 10 or even up to 12 years of experience, INSEAD and London Business School will definitely give you extra credit and will look at your profile. I don't see any problem with this. And I'll continue a bit with your question. You asked about military experience. These schools love military experiences. Shai and I, we've seen many candidates with military experience, and they've got into both schools. So that's a very good experience.
Yeah.
Which is better? We're not going to answer. Product management you can get in from both schools.
We did answer it.
We did answer. Yeah, I also
we
think
had
that.
2 answers, but yes.
Okay, sorry. someone's asking about visas. I really don't want to get into it because, you know, the situation is changing a lot. Whoever asked, your assumption is right about the 2 years, but I'm not going to go into that. Scholarships, I think we discussed that. How do you get a scholarship and what kind of scholarship? Which round should I apply to? Okay. Well, first of all, I love your question because he wrote in brackets with 0 years of work experience. Well, the answer is in no round, because if you have 0 work experience, you're not going to get into both MBA programs. If you're asking about the Master in Management program, which is 0 to 2 years, yes, you can apply. There isn't a huge difference between the rounds. I've worked with people in INSEAD. There's 4 rounds for every stream, and I've worked in round 4 and people got in. There isn't a huge difference. Usually I suggest to try and apply in the first or second round. From a project management perspective, you know faster what's happening with you. So, you know, it makes kind of more sense, but, you know, up to you, of course. Healthcare, yes, there's healthcare industry as well. Employment stats, you can go to the schools and find them by yourself. I'm sorry to, you know, they keep changing. And minimum work, I think last question for today, Shai, minimum work experience. I think that's an interesting question because we do get candidates maybe with 2 years experience and they're in a dilemma. Should they apply now or should they apply next year? So I think that's a real dilemma. What do you think about that, Shai? So let's say you have someone with just 2.5 years of work experience, super talented. Should they apply or should they wait?
So I think it really depends on the story. If you have an interesting story to tell, then yeah, we both know candidates who got in with around 2 years of experience. I think that generally speaking, you know, it's just like saying that 800 GMAT score is better than 600. If you have a very unique background and you have a very unique story to tell, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. And this is, I mean, I'm not afraid of such a challenge. I think that most candidates should have more, but it's not as if you cannot get in with 2 years of experience.
I think you answered it at the beginning. It depends. Depends on your story. Depends where you are today. So some candidates are in a family business. They have 2 or 3 years experience, but frankly, they've been at the family business since they were 10, and they just want the MBA because they want to go back to the family business and they need to manage a new segment. Yeah. And on the other hand, you know, some people, it's just not enough. You haven't led anyone. You've only been in one job. You haven't even got promoted yet. It's probably a bit, you know, you will gain more if you only go to the MBA in 2-3 years.
I think regardless of any number, the most important question to ask is whether you have an interesting story to tell about yourself, about your background, about what you want to do post-MBA, about your school fit. If you can make a coherent, interesting story out of all of these 3, you'll probably get in.
I definitely agree. So again, there's some other questions about comparison to other schools in the US, etc. Just send me your CV and you know, your questions. I'll answer them. So I think that's enough for today. We've passed our 1 hour. I hope we didn't bore you. I think my conclusion is these are 2 amazing schools, best international schools that you could go to. You can't go wrong in both of them, whoever's asking which one to go to. There are some key differentiators. Possibly length of the program is the biggest and the location is the second biggest, or vice versa. Again, you can check us out on aringo.com. Shai, your closing notes.
Go to INSEAD.
You had to stick that in the end.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, everyone. I've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
Thank you.
Bye
very
for now.
much. Cheers. Bye.
Bye, everyone.